Well, welcome everybody. We're glad you're here. We're in the makeup mode from Hurricane Irma. I hope all of your lives have returned to normal. Mine is about 3/4 of the way there. So over the next 2 weeks, I will get back to normal, but we're all in the process of rescheduling events that were canceled, doing a lot of business. So hopefully everyone is recovered and is well on their way. Hopefully you and your families are doing well. We're very fortunate to have with us tonight a woman who's a very successful professional as well as an entrepreneur. She comes from the public relations industry. Duree Ross is president of a very successful Fort Lauderdale PR firm, Duree and Company, which she founded back in 1999. Part of the reason I look at that is say, okay, you founded it, you've stayed with it, it's been successful, and you've survived. So the first sign of success in small business is that in fact you survive over a period of time. But not only has she survived, she has thrived. She is an avid community advocate in South Florida. I've seen her at a number of the charitable causes and community engagements for which she is very, very passionate. She also represents a huge number of clients that are household names. Dr. Pepper, Coldwell Banker, Brio Tuscan Grill, Broward Health, Feeding South Florida, the Riverwalk Arts and Entertainment District, Special Needs Group, Boys and Girls Clubs of Miami-Dade, and many more. She's a proud graduate of the University of Miami. She and her husband were happy to be our guests at the FAU football game last weekend, and they did a great job of cheering on the Owls. Please join me in welcoming Duree Ross.
Thank you.
I will say there's a full 2 pages of accolades here, so I probably didn't do the PR justice that I should, but you guys all have this. She's a wonderful speaker, and please go ahead.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for, are we all good? Yes. Okay. Thank you so much for having me back. I'm incredibly honored to be asked back this year. I spoke last year to this class as well, and I guess that means I did a fairly decent job if I got a repeat booking. So I very much enjoy being here and talking to you about what I do both in PR and as a business owner. And the key thing that I want you to, I guess, go away with is I didn't start knowing exactly what I was going to do. And business isn't easy, but you figure it out. So we're going to get into that a little bit now. And we have, I think, 15 minutes at the end for Q&As. And if you have any questions, I know there's somebody coming right after me. So if you have any additional questions, you are certainly welcome to reach out to me via email or whatever your preferred method is afterwards. And I'm happy to communicate if you have questions or something that we don't get time to discuss. So I'm going to dive right in. So this is all the exciting stuff, right? So I've been doing PR for 21 years, which is still hard to say. And I did fall in love. I was very lucky. While I was going to University of Miami, I actually had was majoring, I had a double major in journalism and sociology. Had no clue what I wanted to do. And I figured, well, I know I want to do something in the School of Communication, so I was lucky enough to get in there, and then they required you to have a second major at that time. Now it's a little different, but, and I said, oh, well, I might go to law school. If all else fails, I'll go to law school and I'll be an attorney. And I was fortunate enough that in my second year of school, there was a job posting, and I needed to get a job, and it was a paying job. I needed a paying job, and it was for PR. And at that time, I didn't even know what PR was, and now everybody knows what PR is, or they think that they do, and that they think that they want it. But back then, it really was not as commonplace to talk about PR. So I needed a job. I figured, let me try this out. And for me, that was it. I fell in love with it. I realized that communicating with people and some of the initiatives that I was working on, even as an intern, they were made for me. So I was very, very lucky that I found it at 19. It's kind of unheard of, even, now and even back then. to kind of find your calling at that age. And so I did start in PR at 19 and had a number of different opportunities throughout college. So it actually got to the point where I was working full-time in PR before I had graduated. And one of the most important things I would say that I want to share with you that I'm very proud of is that to this day, I still do business, speak to, and get referrals from a number of people that I interned with. And I was one of these full-time internships. I started as just this little intern who didn't really know what she was doing and ended up pitching the Chicago Sun-Times and getting a cover story at 19, and then I ended up with an office where I was working. So I think the takeaway is do what you can, try what you can, because it's process of elimination a lot of times. You don't know what you want until sometimes you realize what you don't want, or you're doing it and you go, oh my God, I love this. This was made for me. I did not graduate with a degree in public relations. I actually never even took one class that was a public relations class. I majored in journalism, broadcast journalism, and I graduated with a degree in broadcast journalism. And I want to make that distinction because I didn't go to school. What I learned there was operating cameras, and that's not what I do today. I was very lucky that the dean at the time, who coincidentally I still talk to, I spoke to him 2 days ago, he actually refers me a lot of students, and I go in and speak, and I do quite a number of things still there, but he was kind enough to let me substitute a few classes towards the end that were a little more applicable to what I was going to do, like a graphic design course instead of a video production course, and that worked out well. But for me, I was lucky enough to find it, but the reason I found it is because I said, I'm just going to try it. I don't know what it is, I don't know what PR is, and I just want to do it. So you'll see here it says I fell in love with PR at 19, and that is true. And during that time, I've worked with large and small agencies and freelancing. And a lot of people ask me, okay, well, how did you start? How did you start your own company? How did it begin? And it's really very basic. All those people that I interned and that I worked with, when I was deciding, I was in between deciding where I wanted to go, and I had worked at a number of agencies, all these people started calling me that I had worked with before from when I was 19 and 20 and 21 and 22 and 23. I was 24 at the time. And these people started calling me that had agencies, and they said, we need some freelance help, and we need some work. And I kind of fell into it because of my work ethic and because of my experience. I was getting these calls. And you have to realize, I mean, to put it into perspective, I lived at home with my mom and my sister. I had a computer with dial-up. I mean, I'm dating myself here, but that's how it was. And we had big old computers, and I set up my room. It was in my room, and I had a computer at home with my parents, and I started this company. And at the time, I just started freelancing, and I wasn't even incorporated. I mean, I didn't even think about that. And then it got to the point where I needed to incorporate, and the reason I came up with Duree & Company is it's really kind of embarrassing and kind of just funny. So I was an independent contractor, and people would make checks out to my name, which at the time I was not married, and it was Duree Melian. So, okay, well, if people send me a check to Duree Melian, it would be easy just to put Duree & Company, and I can still deposit the check in the business account. And that's actually how it came to be. And so now, fast forward 20 years later, and it was great that I used my name because for search engine optimization, there aren't too many Durees out there. So it's been a unique selling point. People ask me all the time, is that your given name, or is it like Cher or Madonna? And I said, no, my parents actually named me Duree, and I'm here. So in hindsight, which is my husband always says is 2020, it was a great move. The only time it's not such a great move to have your name on the door is that all of our clients, guess who they want? They want the person whose name is on the door 24/7. So it's good and it's bad. It's a good thing that we really love our clients, but I'll get into a little bit more. So as I've mentioned, and you mentioned, we worked with all different clients. You mentioned some of the ones that we've worked with. Are some areas that we really focus on is real estate, hospitality, lifestyle, consumer brands, and we still do legal. I think that's still my calling with being a frustrated attorney, the person who never made it to law school. So, and that's not everything that we do, but that pretty much covers it. I was just saying that tonight I had scheduled to speak, I think about 3 months ago, and a perfect example of my night, I should say, is we had a grand opening for a business that's opening in Fort Lauderdale this evening, and it was supposed to be during the hurricane, and it got rescheduled. And when the client called and said, oh, we want to do it October 5th, and I said, actually they called my staff, and they immediately said, that's fine, but Duree has a speaking engagement and she will not be able to attend. So when you want to know what the life is of a business owner, it is, worried about the event that's going on there, staying with your commitments, and 3 other things that have popped up and been rescheduled because of the hurricane. So I made the decision to be here, and I'm so honored to be here. So I want you to know that, but that's kind of, the work never ends. So hang on tight and we'll talk about that a little bit more. One other thing that I wanted to point out is we do what we call low bono. It's almost pro bono, where we do work for a lot of nonprofits, and that is a passion of mine. So I know you read some of them off. We have certainly a laundry list, and that's actually a really big passion of mine. And being able to introduce clients who want to help in the community and pairing them together is something I absolutely love to do. And I've done that quite a bit in my career, where a perfect example is we work with several real estate developers, but this one in particular was doing a project in the area and really had not extended the olive branch to the government. The mayor and the commissioners, and when you're going in for approvals and you're trying to go into a new city, you have to do this thing called like community affairs and PR, and you have to at least extend an olive branch to get to know these folks. And so they didn't. It was before I started working with them, and they wondered kind of, why do we have no relationship with the city government? Well, you didn't extend an olive branch. So they decided they wanted to do something in this city, and I was actually able to pair them with an organization that I was on the board on during that time, and it was a win-win. And so we were able to rehab a home for a veteran, and the mayor came out, and it was a great all-around great cross-promotional. And so that's the kind of stuff that I live for and that makes me tick, is being able to connect people and help the greater good. So I do try to weave in our clients that aren't charities into business opportunities that hopefully paying clients can help take care of for the charities. So it's a big passion of mine, and I call it low bono because I kind of joke that if all we ever did was work in nonprofit, I wouldn't be able to make payroll, but we do enjoy it as a team. Let's see, oops, I went too far. Okay. So a little bit about our philosophy. This is from my heart. I mean, this is what I believe in. You'll see the bullets, but I really believe, and even in our email signatures, this is included. It's true that you only get one chance to make a first impression, but you have a million chances to make an indelible impression. And I believe it. It's at my core, and it's something that really just resonates with me. How do we do this as a company? We do it by we keep the conversation going. That's our job. I mean, in PR, that's what we have to do. We really, sometimes we have to come up with the stuff to keep our clients in the news. Sometimes we come up with the stuff to try to keep them out of the news. And so we really have to be very strategic in our efforts. Anyways, so there's a few other things here. So we're not a typical PR firm, and we don't treat our clients in a typical manner. A lot of people say that, but I believe it. And I'll get into it a little bit more when I tell you about what it's like being a business owner. And we're very much not a one-size-fits-all. Every client we work with is different. Even if they're in the same industry, I can't make a cookie-cutter promotion or a cookie-cutter PR campaign or cookie-cutter marketing. That's not going to serve me well, and it's not going to serve my clients well. So it's very specific to their goals, what they're looking to do. At the end of the day, PR is about third-party endorsement. It's somebody else saying, writing, blogging, tweeting, whatever it is, that you're good, your product, your service, your nonprofit, whatever, is great. And it's them promoting you in a way that advertising cannot do. So you'll see that kind of like PR 101 is PR versus advertising. And within that kind of marketing umbrella, you've got advertising, PR, sales promotion, direct marketing, trade support, corporate communications, and there's a laundry list. I mean, the big takeaway in the last 20 years is that this marketing umbrella, if you will, PR is under it, advertising, social media, that's kind of how I see it, and it's all blurred. Every day it gets more and more blurred. Things that used to be PR and, well, we would never do sponsored content. Guess what? If you look on things, you'll see on social media, sponsored content or hashtag ad or whatever. I mean, the rules are constantly changing because the FTC is getting involved with some of the bloggers and all of that. But the bottom line is, within marketing, there are so many different components to it. And our primary focus started with PR, but over the years, the clients, first of all, the industry has changed, right? So there's a lack of journalists because newspaper print is dying. On the flip side, you have all these bloggers and influencers and folks like that we work with for the right client. And so it's constantly changing. And I have to constantly reinvent myself to make sure that I'm current and that we're offering services that the clients are looking for. And our biggest growth as a company has really been existing clients that have expanded our scope of work. What do I mean? So let's say we're handling the PR and the clients are super busy. They don't want to manage multiple agencies. You could have a digital agency, you could have an ad agency, a PR agency. I mean, there are many different agencies that clients can have. And at the end of the day, if we're working with the chief marketing officer or the marketing director or whomever is in charge of the marketing umbrella for the company, we need to make sure that we're supporting them. And they don't have the time to manage 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 agencies because we all need stuff and we all are trying to help at the end of the day. But it's more work for that person. So like I said, a lot of our growth has been existing clients who are expanding and have asked us to take on ad buys and have asked us to help with some creative. And I always tell them, listen, I'm not a full-blown ad agency, so I want to be very clear that I'm still the PR firm. However, we can help with some of these other initiatives. So I'm not going to be out competing with some of the big ad agencies for the business. That's not really where our core is, and we've tried to stay very conscientious about what is our core while still growing the social media. I mean, we didn't have social media when I started the company. I mean, it was dial-up, as I mentioned. When I started at 19 in college at PR, the way that we would pitch media was I would stand at a fax machine and fax 3 pages with a cover sheet all day long. That's what I did as an intern. And then we'd pick up the phone and call. So just that in and of itself, the way that the world communicates now is so different. And the way that we have to change our ways in order to get to journalists that we want to cover us. So what is their preferred method? Some love email. Some love still faxes, which is very rare, but some love pick up the phone. Some, it's great to engage with them on Twitter. It's a variety of different ways, and it's not like our campaigns that we do for our clients. It's not a one-size-fits-all, and it's constantly evolving. So it certainly keeps things very interesting in the office. So I talked a little bit about advertising and how you're paying for it, right? So you're controlling the message. You're paying for it, and you can put whatever you want on there as long as it meets standards of the outlet. And it is lower credibility because it's a paid endorsement. It's very clear it's an ad, and people know it's an ad, and there is definitely a place for ads. So I'm not bashing advertising at all. We do a lot of it for clients, but there's a significant distinguishing factor between advertising and PR that I want to make sure that you all understand, because it's getting more and more blurred every single day, every day. So PR is, we do have less control over the messages because we're begging. I mean, honestly, what we do in my office all day is like, we're begging for coverage. I mean, please, not saying it like that, but we package the information, we spoon feed it to the journalists, we get it to the manner in which they like it. Some like Dropbox, some don't like Dropbox, and it's constantly changing, but we have to play the game by their rules if we want to win. And by winning, that's the editorial coverage that is PR, public relations. So that is the third-party endorsement by John Smith journalists saying, this restaurant is great, this charity is great, this condominium is great, go by there. At the end of the day, it's all about one thing, and that's sales. Whether it's a charity, and that means your sale is a donation, or you're a restaurant and it's butts and seats, or it's, I mean, I could go on and on. It's very specific to the industry that you're in. If you're a facial plastic surgeon, it's a new patient or a referral. So it's all about sales. And the age-old question from true marketing people is, well, how much business is PR going to get me? How much business can you guarantee? And when I hear the word guarantee, I said, time out. I can't guarantee you anything unless you're spending money on advertising, because that I can control, controlled messaging. And PR, I can't guarantee you anything. If anybody walks in the door and says, I guarantee you will be in X, Y, and Z, run the other way, because nobody can guarantee that you can be in anything. And those are some key red flags. And both for you all, if you ever work with a PR firm and somebody's guaranteeing you something, run the other way. But on the flip side, it works two ways. I mean, you can't guarantee that. I can't guarantee that. And if a client is asking me on the flip side, well, what can you guarantee me? That's a red flag. And it's taken a lot of years to figure out the red flags with potential clients, but I'm usually pretty good at it. So we talked about PR. Obviously, it cannot eliminate the negatives. You certainly cannot eliminate the competition. I cannot control the media. That's an ongoing thing with clients. It's like, well, you just get them to write this, or I don't want them to focus on that. Guess what? I can't control them. We can certainly guide them, and we can get you marketing messages so that when you're speaking, you're reinforcing certain things. But I can't control the media. That is not my job. So we have to work with our clients and explain to them, okay, if we're going out with this press release or we're announcing something, here's a perfect example. If it's a business that we want to promote and they're expanding, and let's say the client says, okay, I want a business story. I want a business story in the South Florida Business Journal, let's say. That's great. My first question is, well, you're going to share your numbers, right? You're going to share your revenues. You're going to share your growth, your anticipated growth. You're going to share all that, right? No, I'm not sharing that. Then you're not getting a business story. So those are the kind of, then we can say, well, then maybe we don't go after the business story. Let's go after some other angles and some other avenues that are not going to require the business numbers that you don't want to share. So there are some clients where they are public, like with charities, it's public. Certainly we work with actually 2 public companies right now, and that's a whole nother exciting forward-looking statements and what you can and you cannot say. But our communication is very different based on the client and what they're looking for. Some businesses may say, I don't want to give the numbers, I don't want to give revenue, so what else can we do? And that's when we have to get creative and we have to dig deep. So what do we do? Well, we'll look at the person. What are your charitable causes? What do you do with your family? What's passionate to you? So sometimes we have to put the business story on hold and go another angle or another avenue so that we can promote maybe their philanthropic efforts, or maybe the business will do a percentage back to a certain charity, and we can promote that and not have to go down the business article path that is going to require you to provide information that you don't want to provide. So it's very strategic, and again, it's not cookie cutter, it's not a one size fits all. And it certainly cannot be a quick fix, and it's not a one-shot commitment. The clients that we work with, most of them are very long-term, and they get it that you can't just turn it on and turn it off. It takes time to ramp up, and so those are the clients that are the best, are the ones that really work with us, and we're a team together. We're an extension of them. So publicity can obviously create awareness. I talked about the third-party endorsement, help create an environment that promotes the products and services, certainly builds an image and can enhance your credibility. It can also destroy you if it's not handled properly. It can communicate customized messages to specific markets and support your brand positioning strategy. Okay, so what is it like to be an executive? As I mentioned, I didn't set out and I didn't have any business plan. I kind of fell into Duree and Company, and it's crazy. What is it? It's crazy. It's 24/7. It is exhilarating, and I can tell you it's scary. It's really scary. You have your day job, right? My day job is PR. You're going to have your day job, which is going to be wherever you're going to end up. But if you're owning a business and you're an executive, or you're an executive in the business, there's a lot more that you have to do. So I always say, during the day, I'm in my business, my PR. At night, on weekends, I'm catching up. I'm running a business. It's not so much about the PR side of it or the marketing. It's about looking at numbers, billing, running an office. To give you a good perspective of kind of where we've been. 4 years ago, I didn't even have one employee. I was virtual, and I had a bunch of people that worked all over the state for me, and it was awesome. And I did that for about 10 years. It got to the point where the clients, I still work with a bunch of the same clients, but again, they were adding on. They were asking, can you take on the state of Florida? And then can you take on the country for us? Can you handle this whole region? And it got bigger than what my virtual team could handle. And I remember going to my husband, and you have to realize he's in the financial world, so he went to business school. I never went to business school. I was never taught how to read a P&L. Thank God I have him, because not that he runs the business, but when it comes to some of the stuff that I'm overwhelmed with, the stuff that you're learning about, that I didn't learn about, I'm like, I don't even know how to do this. So he'll sometimes help me with some of that stuff. However, QuickBooks is like amazing. I always say there's a reason I'm in PR. When people ask me to do numbers and to figure all this stuff out, and I'm like, there's a reason I'm in PR. It's because I'm really bad with numbers. Really bad. But as a business owner, you have to be good with numbers. You have to look at, where are your revenues? Where's your profit? Where are you? Are you growing the way you need to? And so we went on this trajectory where, yes, I had independent contractors by their choice, and some of them are still with me, not in the office. But I worked out of my house, and I went to my husband and I said, I am like maxed out. The clients are adding work like crazy. I either have to start turning down a ton of work because the old clients aren't leaving, which is a great problem, but people are calling me and I'm getting referrals, and I don't know what to do. I have to figure something out. Plus my kids had gotten older, and I really wanted to get out of my house and office. So I'm the crazy person that decides. We ended up actually buying office space. So I went from a house with 0 employees, okay? I was doing it for a long time at that time, so I had a good business, but I went from, in 2013, I had no employees. April 2013, I bought my office space. So I went from my house with 0 employees to buying an office and getting an SBA loan, which that is a very interesting process. It was easy to get approved. But just the amount of paperwork, and that's where I said, honey, you have to take over some of the stuff. He's in the banking world, so that was an easy honey-do list, so he could help me. But so April 2013, I close on the office, I get my first employee, and everything just was crazy. And then we grew and we grew and we grew. And I was like, I remember sitting right when I got the office, and I was sitting at my desk, and I was like, oh my God, I'm sitting in my office. And I didn't even, you have to realize, I never wrote a business plan. I didn't go to business school. I'm jealous of where you're sitting. I would like to be there. I didn't have any training like that. I didn't get the courses. I didn't learn that part of it. So I'm jealous of where you're at, because it's fascinating to me to learn and to be taught that. I've learned it by doing it, and just because I've had to. And some of the things as a business owner that you have to do are just, you can't even understand them. Nothing to do with PR, nothing to do with marketing, none of that. It's like, oh my gosh, that's like my second job. My first job is PR and marketing. My second job is like running this business, the admin that goes along with it. So then we bought that office space, and then within 2 years, it was very clear that I needed more space. That's how quickly it grew. And then we bought the office next door. Almost 2 years to the day, which is totally just kind of crazy. And then we bought that 2 years ago in April, and we combined offices, which was interesting to work through and deal with city and all that good stuff. And now there are 11 of us in the office, and 4 that are permanent team members, but 2 that have been with me forever and ever and ever by their choice. I'd love to have them as employees in the office, but when you find really good people, you find a way to make it work. So it might not be the ideal, I want you as an employee that you're here 24/7, but you make it work as a business owner when you find people that you can trust and that do a good job and respect you and respect your clients. You find a way to make it work. So that's kind of the growth that we've been on, and it's pretty intense in terms of growth numbers, and it's not easy. It's not easy because everybody wants the person whose name is on the door, and it's exhilarating and it's fun, and I can't imagine working for anybody else, and I can't imagine doing anything else. But it's exhausting. I mean, I was up till 1 o'clock this morning trying to get things wrapped up and trying to make sure things are organized and the team has what they need. And we're constantly trying to improve our communication and improve how we do business because it keeps changing. So we've incorporated things like Slack. I don't know if you all know Slack. So that's been a really great thing to help. The email is overwhelming for me. I get out of a meeting. Yesterday I was in a meeting for an hour and 45 minutes, and there were 137 emails, and they weren't like offers from stores and like e-blast. I mean, these were things that I needed to respond to. So it's definitely been, as a business owner, it's been fascinating, it's been exhilarating, and it is scary. I always say that when I was an employee, payroll never came around as quick as it does as an employer. I was like, really, ADP? They send the reminder, payroll again? I was like, I just paid that. So I always laugh because it's the truth, and as the employer, you're worried about making sure the clients are paying on time. And that, again, that's the admin stuff that I have to worry about. Forget about the almost 30 clients that we work with. That's the day job. The night job is, a hurricane's coming, and we have to represent our clients, make sure that they're taken care of, and I have to worry about this office. And what am I going to do with the employees? And is our server set up so that it flips properly? And I mean, obviously, we all had a dry run. I mean, thankfully, we were all okay for us. Many other people, obviously not good at all. But it was, as a business owner, it was very difficult to go through this hurricane. I'm born and raised here, so I went through Hurricane Andrew, and I lived it, and I know what it was about. But as a business owner, you see things in a totally different way. And one thing that I would pass along is, whatever you're doing, even if you're not the business owner, try to understand or try to get to look at it from their perspective. I'm sure in your studies, with what you're learning, because you're on the business end of it, that you're looking at things differently, but I didn't get that chance. And so the hurricane for, I think, a lot of us, whether it was your home and you were like, oh my gosh, I need to do this next time, or you're a business owner and you're like, well, we had this done, but what could we have done differently? And I will tell you that as the hurricane was coming, and I actually left with my family, it was the first time ever in my life that I've left for a storm. In my mind, I had a responsibility to get on a plane and leave, because we have clients in Ohio and all over the country. And I can't simply turn around and say to them, I'm sorry, but we've had a hurricane and we can't help your public company while we figure this out for 2 weeks. And as I mentioned, 4 years ago, it was a different thing. When Wilma was here, it was a different thing. It was just me, and I had freelancers that were permanent freelancers, but it was a different, I didn't have clients all over the place like I do now. And it was really, it was really scary for me as a business owner. And the expense, I can feel the pain of a lot of the small business owners who lost that week and who lost that time and who lost the money, because let me tell you, that payroll, that ran around, again, regardless of whether or not we were open. And I was responsible for paying it, and I didn't take it as a joke. I took it very seriously. And the thought as a business owner that we could not have when I left, I thought, am I going to have a business to come back to? And what happens if we are taken out? And I have insurance, and I have contents insurance, and I had all that stuff. Those are things. I mean, you replace them, but my employees, I'm responsible for them. I'm responsible for them getting home and making sure that they've taken care of what they needed to. So the smartest thing I did was this past year in January, I hired a new IT company, which is another fabulous admin function that I'm rolling my eyes at because it's not so fun. Even with an office manager, you still have these things that you have to deal with. And one of my biggest things I said to them was, I need to make sure that even if the power goes out or we have a storm, that we have a backup server, that files can be accessed from anywhere. I don't care what you have to do. Please just give me the costs of how it's going to happen, what's going to happen, and how it happens. So that and how does it work? I don't need to know where in the facility in Kansas or wherever it is that you're warehousing our stuff. So I had to make that call. I got to where I was headed. I went to Colorado. We do business out there, and I spent a lot of time out there. So that was way out of the way versus where the storm was coming. And I made the decision, I think it was that Thursday night or Friday morning, okay, let's flip over, let's go to the other server, and let's use that server. And it worked beautifully, and it saved me, because we did not have Wi-Fi at my office for one week. I mean, forget about my house. My house didn't have anything for 10 days, but it really saved us. And as a business owner, there are things I would do differently. Not everybody had a laptop. They told me, I remember when I was buying all the computers, oh no, we don't want a laptop. We like the bigger ones. And guess what? Moving forward, everybody is getting a laptop, because it became a situation where we were all fine, thank God. Everybody was accounted for. I had to worry about, where is everybody? Where are you going? Are you in Tampa? And then somebody went to Sarasota, and then she had to drive back the day of the storm to come back from Sarasota. So the reason I'm pointing all this out is, this is PR. Yes, I do PR, but this is admin business. Doesn't matter. Even if you don't own the business and you're managing people, you're responsible for making sure that those people can get home with their families, and are they okay? And you don't even think about those things until you go through them and you experience them. And man, it's a lot. And I mean, it was really scary for me to think about, and we see the aftermath in some of these areas of like, what if that was us? I mean, what would I be doing? Where would we be? And, would the clients even be there? So in kind of the silver lining of it, what we were able to do is we work, as he mentioned, with Boys and Girls Clubs of Miami-Dade, and their sister clubs down in the Keys were hit very hard. They were, one club was on Big Pine Key, and the other was in Key West. And one is totally gone. And one of the things that we did was we did this huge club-to-club relief for them. And I actually just took it down we collected stuff at our office in Broward, and I said, anybody who wants to donate, bring it to our office, and I will drive it down to Miami. So that's the kind of stuff that we try to, we're glad that we're able to help and give back. And we feel like, okay, we were lucky, let's help those others. And we're lucky enough to work with some great organizations that let us do that, or that are willing to do these fundraisers and willing to help. So that's been a very exciting thing for us. And you know, we've gotten PR out of it. That is not why my client did it. My client called me when I was away and said they're in trouble. These are working parents who, to begin with, didn't have the means, and they have nothing but the shirts on their back. So that's how I can take my PR and do the greater good. I had a client who was a restaurant client who said, anybody who donates, we'll give them complimentary appetizer cards. And so that's what I mean by, let's get cross promotionals going. We've got a great restaurant who's willing to donate to the people who donate and bring in stuff into our office. We sent out a press release. We had people showing up at our office with so much stuff that it was overwhelming. It was so nice to see. But that's taking the PR that we do and harvesting it for the greater good. So that's what I love to do, and helping people and bringing for-profits into the not-for-profits and doing that sort of thing. So, you know, the answer of what it's like to be an executive is, it is 24/7. And it's not just a business owner. If you end up being a manager somewhere, you know, a high-level manager or a low-level manager, you are responsible for these people. And it's a whole nother aspect of your job that I never really thought about until I had the people. I mean, you just don't think about it. You just don't think about it. Advice on how to become a successful executive. So what I always say is, I can teach you a lot of things. I can teach PR, I can teach how to do PR, I can teach how to create a marketing plan, how to do all sorts of things. There's one thing that I look for, and if you've got it, you've got it, and I can't teach it. And it is hustle. If you have hustle, you can do it. And hustle, when I say somebody hustles, that is an ultimate compliment from my end, because what I see in my office is a lack of hustle. Not the current, I mean, not my employees, but what comes through is a lack of hustle. And I think that is across the board. I don't think it's PR specific. I think that is today's workforce just in general. And it doesn't just mean millennials, it's across the board. And for me, if I can see somebody's got hustle and they've worked and they've done stuff and they've participated in this and they've been a part of all these other things and they've been committed to something and they're really involved, to me, I can teach you the rest. If you're entry level, obviously. If you're coming in much higher, you have to know PR. But I can teach you a lot of things. I can't teach you hustle. And so for me, that is what I look for. I look for that glimmer, the hustle, the going above and beyond, and really making things happen. The other thing that I look for is, say thank you. If I interview you or I respond to you, I mean, the first test for me is I made time and I interviewed you. Did I get a thank you note or thank you email? Doesn't matter. I don't care what it is. Did you bother to say thank you? And when they don't, and I don't tell them, obviously. I'm not saying I'm expecting to hear from you. But I know that when I hear from somebody, because that's what I want in PR. And it's not even about PR. That's just proper business etiquette. If you knew how far a handwritten note went in today's world, you can't even believe it. I still handwrite cards. I mean, I do the best I can do. I handwrite them. Somebody else doesn't do it for me. And those are the things that make you successful. And it doesn't mean you're the smartest person in the room. I wasn't the smartest person in my class. I mean, I did well. I applied myself. I was a hard worker. But I had the hustle. And I've been hustling, and that's just that. And when I say hustling, again, that's not a negative. I mean, to me, that's a very positive thing. I've been doing it for many years. And I brought that work ethic into my business, which I didn't even know was a business until I got into it. And so my biggest advice is just hustle, whatever that means. In whatever field you're in, just keep your hustle. Just keep going above and beyond, because no matter what business you're in, I promise you, it will help you. And say thank you and handwrite a thank you note. So I'm getting the hook a little bit. So in the back, I got the talk to the hand. So that means that, I think we were just about done anyway. So the timing was right on. I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you have. I would love to speak with you either here, or I have business cards. You're certainly more than welcome to reach out if there are any questions that you have, or anything about PR or starting a business, or, I mean, it was a long time ago. I incorporated it in 1999 at 24, but it happened, and it can happen. With hustle and hard work, I'm telling you, if you just have hard work and hustle, you are light years ahead of anybody else. And your competition. It really has what set me apart with getting business and keeping business is just not losing the hustle. It's exhausting. I don't sleep. I sleep very little. But does anybody have any questions? Yeah. Oh, sorry. Hi.
First of all, I want to tell you, when I got out of college, the second job, I actually faxed the thank you note, and she told me that's why she hired me, it was a sales job. The second question I have is, when you said long-term commitment with your clients, if someone, a small company, wanted to hire you, how long would you ask for the PR to promote their company? What's long-term mean?
Well, and starting initially with a client is usually 6 to 12 months. We really don't take anything less than that unless it's just like a one event. We don't do a lot of them. But long-term to me is, I mean, I have a 10-year client. The 10-year client, I started opening up one restaurant, and we represent all 113 restaurants all over the US, and they're a public company in 2008. So we're just getting ready to celebrate kind of 10 years with them. They were a private company at the time. They're a public company now. And it's been fascinating. It's been scary. You don't know. They're going public. Will you have a job? They're expanding. Will you have a job? I mean, it's so long term to me is many years, and we have a number of many years clients. 6 to 12 months is a general contract, if that's the question. But when I say long term, I mean, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. It's kind of unheard of in the industry to be that long with so many clients. And it's the hustle, and it's just, you got to keep reinventing yourself. It's harder to stay with a client and continue. You have to keep kind of reinventing the wheel. I mean, you have to keep that hustle going to figure out, okay, what's the next thing? What's the next? So it's actually hard. I mean, it's easier in some ways. Listen, the best client is a client that's expanding their work, right? Because you don't have that learning curve. They already know you. But in some ways, you have to keep reinventing yourself. So it's harder in that respect to kind of keep current and keep people interested. Yes?
Could you talk about your relationship with the Boys and Girls Club of Miami-Dade?
Sure.
Kind of work you've done with them?
Sure, they're actually a very long-term client. I want to say that we've been with them about 6 years. And so I'm originally from Miami, and I love working with them. And our type of work is extensive. It can run from, I'll give you a great example. So the All-Star Game was obviously here in the summer, and the client didn't let us know until after my summer vacation was booked that they were going to be the benefit of. They do a lot with the Miami Marlins, and A-Rod went to school, learned how to play. His baseball, where he learned to play baseball was at Boys and Girls Clubs, and his trainer, Eddie, still teaches there to this day, 40 years later. So we do and have done a lot with A-Rod. And there's a long history with A-Rod that I'm sure you're all aware of, and he's been nothing but amazing for the clubs. I saw it 6 years ago when I started. I saw it when he didn't want any publicity, and I certainly have seen it, now after the fact. So with the All-Star Game coming to Miami, they work very closely with Boys and Girls Clubs of America, and we also have our own very tight relationship with the Marlins. So we had a huge event. They did a ribbon cutting. We had everybody. We had the commissioners there, Giancarlo Stanton we do a lot with, A-Rod was there, and it was a phenomenal event that we ended up coordinating, and we didn't get paid extra for it. It was within our retainer. We had People magazine. It's like gold, something like that, to be able to have somebody like A-Rod who stands there and says, I learned to play at these clubs. He's donated millions of dollars there and given back. And more than anything else, he always came back and gave back to the kids when there wasn't a TV camera on him and there wasn't media. And so we deal with a lot of celebrities like that we end up working with, and you see a true celebrity, good or bad, in that respect. And so our work with Boys and Girls Clubs could be that we're promoting their gala. It could be we're the beneficiary of that. We've done a number. When LeBron was here Sprite renovated a court, and we did a huge event. It was actually during the NBA lockout, if you all remember, sports fans, and he couldn't talk to the media. So we're trying to figure it out. So every client is different, but for Boys and Girls Clubs, we make sure that they're in the news, that we're promoting what they have going on, and really the economic impact that they provide to the community, and that gets lost. It's not just about parties and celebrities and all of that. I mean, that's great, and we love that. But at the end of the day, how many dollars are we saving? How many kids are going to college? And so their programs are very, very just proven. And so it's, you can see I'm very passionate about it. But it ranges from they're the beneficiary and we're hosting an event at our club with LeBron or with everybody from Major League Baseball, or it could be, hey, we have a bunch of new board members and we need to send out a press release. So or we're doing a benefit fundraiser or hurricane collection relief drive for our friends down in the Keys at the clubs down there, and can you help us? So every client is different, but it's a pretty wide range with them. And at the end of the day, it's about raising money to make sure that these kids can get scholarships and that they're off the streets and they're learning and they're doing their homework and that their parents can continue to work and make the money so that they can pay their rent. And so I'm very passionate about it, and I really am very honored to work with them. So they're a great organization. Yes.
You just kind of set up this question.
Uh-oh. Yes.
So I wanted to ask you, in the 90s, Lizzie Grubman made a bad name in PR.
Mm-hmm.
And so tell us about a situation where perhaps you had to let them know, I'm not a party planner, I'm a business consultant.
Sure. We call that clipboard PR, like you're standing at the velvet rope with a clipboard. We do have to do that at times. It's just, I try to pick and choose the clients that are going to be long-term. And so for me as a business owner, I have to make that decision of, is this going to be a one-hit wonder where it's like, let's do the grand opening and we're done? Or is this going to potentially turn into something else? So hopefully when we do our presentation and it's about goals and butts and seats, and it's not just about let's throw a party and be great, there are a lot of fabulous PR firms that is what they do. That's not our specialty. We're not the one-hit wonder, but there are agencies who do a great job, who I respect and I refer business to, and they refer business to me. But we're really in it for the long haul, and that kind of turning over has just not been my business model. And I just explained, like, I'm in it for the long haul. And I tell the clients when I meet with them, I'm not in it for 6 months. I'm in it for 6 years. And sometimes we know going in, okay, this is a 6-month project and we're going to do the grand opening and that's that. But I'll give you a perfect example. Have you all heard of iFly? Indoor skydiving just opened? Yes. Okay. Well, that's us. So they reached out like a week before they were opening. They're an amazing, amazing company to work with. I love them. They're based out of Austin. And they reached out, and they're like 2 seconds from my house. Nothing is ever 2 seconds from my house. And we saw this thing being built, and we were like, oh my God, what is this? And it just didn't make sense, the build and the water. They were pumping water out, and it's like, what is this? So we figured out what it was, but they had reached out to me, and they hired us just to do the grand opening, and that was like 9 months ago. And they've kept us on, and they had us do the advertising, and then they just gave us Orlando as well. So we do the Davie location, and we do Orlando. So that was one where we took on, okay, it's kind of a project fee, but I knew they were new into the market, and that they were going to need community relations, and they were going to need PR, and they were going to need advertising. And so there was a little bit more than just let's throw a party. And the other thing is, I tell people up front, I like to do events that are non-emotional. No mother of the bride, no bar mitzvahs, anything like that with emotions, not for us. Corporate 30th anniversaries that are part of our existing clients, we do that all the time. But crying mothers of the bride and all that, no emotions. So, yes.
Let me first start by saying thank you for
Oh,
the presentation and stuff.
thank you for the opportunity.
Instead of a client asking you what can you guarantee, you mentioned this is a long-term agreement and commitment,
Mm-hmm.
right? What if they asked you what truly differentiates you from other peer PR firms?
I tell them hustle, the same thing I tell you. We show them, here are our clients, here's what we've done, here's our case studies, here's this, that, and the other. And I'll tell you, I'm not the cheapest person. I don't have to be anymore, thank God. Knock on wood, it continues. I don't have to undercut, and I can tell you, I go head to head with competitors, and a lot of them have started undercutting, and I just say to them, I'm sorry, I would love to, but I can't. And so there's a little bit of, I think, respect, and if you're going by price only, I'm not your girl. I'm not your company. Find somebody else, because that's not what we're about. We're about full service. We're available for you, and we're proactive. It's just not about being reactive. It's proactive. And how are we going to move the needle? And really, if they're asking that question, and some of them do, but usually by the time we've met and they've spoken to me, they see the difference. But it does come up on occasion, and it's hustle. I mean, look at our long-term clients. I mean, there's not that much I need to sell in that respect. I mean, just, call our clients, look on our website, look at our socials. I mean, look at what we have going on, and I think the proof is in the pudding, so to speak, and that it speaks for itself. But it's business, and sometimes people need to be at that number, and they can't get off that number. And so, I mean, there are times that I will come down, but less and less. And depending upon the red flag that I see about that person, of how easy or how difficult are they going to make our lives, sometimes it's just not worth it.
Well, with that, we're going to have to call it, because it's 7:30. We've got a 10-minute break, but we try to, in this class, bring in people from major, huge companies, different roles, smaller organizations, and when we have entrepreneurs like Duree in here that have that courage to go step out, start their own firm, create great products for their clients, in this case, great PR, but also hire other people and take on that responsibility. I think it's a great compliment to those folks and to you. So thank you for being part of it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.